All right. There are people who talk about Bruce Lee, and there are some very well known people who have talked about Bruce Lee. And they have said that he was more actor than he was fighter. I will say this, I know some very good real fighters. And anyone who can really, really fight, or anyone who knows fighting. It's not necessary to be a fighter, but anyone who knows what they're looking at knows that Bruce Lee was a fighter who could act and not an actor who could fight. And I disagree with anyone now who says otherwise. Now, I know there are people who are famous, very famous celebrities, right? I know people who some of your teachers may have said that Bruce Lee was an actor who could fight. I will tell you they're wrong. If you see them anywhere on social media, they are wrong. And since I am not shy about giving my points or the willingness to debate anyone who disagrees with me, anyone who disagrees with me, you can give them my email. I will be more than glad to debate them by way of Zoom or by way of any other means and make it public that they are wrong. Bruce Lee is one of the greatest martial artists who has ever lived. And when I say martial artist, I don't mean MMA fighter. No, he was a forerunner, without a doubt. Look at Enter the Dragon. If you look at Enter the Dragon, you see how far he was ahead of his time. If you look at the things that he did, him studying Muhammad Ali, many people, unfortunately, even people in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even people who are in Jeet Kune Do have this racist kind of, yes, I'm going there. And why am I saying it's racist? Because Linda Lee made it known that Bruce spent hours watching Muhammad Ali. Hours watching him. And he had this way of watching him in reverse because Bruce fought with his right lead forward. Okay, with the right lead. So he would watch Ali in reverse. Okay, because Ali was fought with a left lead. Okay, his wife made no bones about it. Did not try to hide at all that Bruce spent hours upon hours watching Bruce Lee more than he watched any boxer. More than he watched any boxer. And then there are people who, when they find out that, when they have to face the fact that he studied that Bruce Lee studied Muhammad Ali, then they say, well, he studied him because he wanted to beat him. This is the most sickening, racist thing I've ever heard. They just cannot say that Bruce Lee studied Muhammad Ali, and it's amazing. I'm going to talk about my friend in prison, right? And him studying Bruce Lee and what that did for him. But I have to say this. It is amazing how biased people in Jeet Kune Do are when they claim to be the offshoot of a man who was dead set against racism. Some of Bruce Lee's first students were black. He absolutely hated racism. And many people who study Jeet Kune Do are so sick in their head, are so socially sick, that they totally go against the social philosophy of the man they claim that they want to emulate. It is amazing, these Jeet Kune Do people. But anyway, I just want to say that that's one of the reasons why Bruce Lee is absolutely one of the greatest martial artists that ever lived. And if someone said that he was the greatest martial artist that ever lived, all around, as far as being so far ahead of his time, if someone said he was the greatest martial artist that ever lived, I wouldn't argue the point. Why? Do I believe he would have beaten everybody? No. I mean, what are you talking about, 5'7", 140 pounds? No. Even if he bit people, other people can bite. Even if he face raped people or he kicked people in the groin, other people can face rape and kick people in the groin. People act as though, he would have beaten Muhammad Ali because he street fought. Well, if Muhammad Ali used the same tactics and he had him outweighed by 100 pounds, then, common sense would say he wouldn't beat Muhammad Ali. It's not like the only thing Muhammad Ali could do was punch. Okay? He couldn't kick well, but at the end of the day, you don't have to kick with form. You have to kick certain shots, certain points on the body to be effective. You don't really have to kick somebody in the groin and kick them, necessarily with a beautiful Thai-looking kick or a beautiful karate-looking kick, so long as you kick them in the groin. I mean, let's just be realistic here, people. I mean, this is about real fighting here. This is what this channel was about, right? So I'm not saying Bruce Lee could beat everybody in the world ever, 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 ever. I am saying he is so far ahead of his time. So far ahead of his time, his mind, his brain, his fighting philosophy possibly makes him the greatest martial artist that ever lived. And I dare anyone to say otherwise. I'll be more than glad to debate them at any time. Now, I want to say something about a very close friend of mine. My very best friend. I have hinted as to why, why he went to prison, okay? And he actually got a longer sentence, but he actually did 13 years in prison. And he had 3 different violent situations, none of which he started, but 3 violent situations. This friend of mine credits none other than Bruce Lee for his survival. He credits Bruce Lee for his survival. So I'm going to tell you how I came to understand that, or how he came to tell me that he credited Bruce Lee for survival. When he got out, I knew he had some situations. His family and me remained close while he was locked up, and they told me about these situations. And fortunately, he was okay. All right. Now, when he got out, he went to a local gym, and he continued to train there like he trained in prison. And he sent me some footage of how he was training. So what he was doing was he was hitting the bag, and he would just hit it, bang, bang, with a cross, hit it with the left, bang, might headbutt, bang, but one shot at a time. And he did this for 3 rounds, okay? For 3 rounds, about 3 minutes, I guess, right? I know they were 3 rounds because he stopped at 3 intervals while he was doing that particular kind of training, okay? And it seemed like it was about 4 minutes. Because when you've been boxing and training as long as me, you kind of can put in your head, give or take a couple seconds, what is 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, okay? So, he did about 3 rounds, approximately 3 minutes, just one shot at a time. Combine, headbutt, elbow, one shot, no combinations. And then he did another 3 rounds of slipping, simulating a slip and punch. Slip and elbow. Slip and headbutt. Then blocking punch. Blocking elbow. Blocking headbutt. Okay. Now, I'm looking at this, so I say, man, you're hitting hard. Good technique. Why are you not throwing combinations? Why are you not throwing combinations? Now, I'm thinking, me and him had trained a long time, before he went to prison. And we trained with combinations. We would throw single shots, but we also trained with combinations. I certainly thought that while he was in prison, that his survival depended on him throwing combinations in those 3 situations that he was in. One of them with a weapon. Someone pulled a shank on him. Now, he tells me that he doesn't do that. He will throw combinations, but when he trained in prison, for the most part, he emulated the philosophy of Bruce Lee. So I says, oh yeah, well, Bruce was the man. But why? What did you get out of it? And he said this. He said, the 2 most important strikes, now I want you people to listen to this, because you're not going to get this from a whole lot of other channels, okay? You're not going to get it from a lot of other channels, right? Certainly not going to get it from Teddy Atlas. Again, Teddy Atlas, he did some holding the pads for Mike Tyson, claimed he trained him. He didn't train him. I know that. I'm almost as old as Teddy Atlas. He lived in New York. I lived in New Jersey. Sister states. I know he's lying to you. I know you drank the Kool-Aid. I know you sucked it up. I know you've been had. I know you've been bamboozled. I know you've been led astray. You brought it lock, stock, and barrel. Okay. My point, though, he said the two most important things. This is what my buddy said, and I thought about it. I said, yeah, you're right. The two most important strikes, okay, are your first attack and your second attack. Your first attack and your second attack. Now, he probably would have gotten it later on in prison, but he might not have survived had he not known it previously, before these particular attacks, right? The first and second attack. So let me explain what that is. The first attack is the preemptive strike. That's the first one. Some people might call it sucker punch. You know you have to hit someone, you hit them, you line your body up just right, right? You get everything just lined up just right, whether it's a smack or an elbow or a headbutt or a punch, not a kick. Don't worry about that, guys. You know, keep your feet on the ground if you can, right? Unless you're sweeping somebody or it's a very low ballistic kick, right? So if it's a headbutt, elbow, slap, punch, right? Okay. Your preemptive strike, your first attack, is the most well, it probably will be the most powerful one, but it's the most valuable one because the individual should not be ready for it. You should be able to do that without the person being prepared for you to do that. You should be able to properly set it up. So that's the first attack. Now, if you look at Bruce, now my friend didn't say this, but I figured it out. If you look at Bruce and you look at the straight blast, the straight blast gets its power from it being a preemptive strike. Preemptive. It doesn't work nearly as well if it's coming after attack, if it's coming in a combination. It doesn't work nearly as well. It works best when you get that explosion forward and everything lined up just perfectly, right, as a preemptive, as the first strike. Okay? Very important. But then he said the second attack. What is the second attack? The second attack, people, is a counterattack. It's extremely important to get a very strong second attack, right, which is a counter. Why? Because you were generally countering someone who was extremely confident about their power and their speed. They're extremely confident in the belief that they're going to take you out, that is going to be the only strike they're going to need. What that means is they commit themselves so much to that offense, they neglect their defense. So if you can pick up the flow of their first attack, your counterattack can be a finisher. So, in fact, that is true. The two attacks that are most important is your initial attack, okay, the preemptive attack, and the second attack, which is a counterattack. Most blows that happen after that, as you go further into the confrontation, the third blow, the fourth blow, the fifth blow, people have been knocked out. But the odds of getting a clean stoppage, getting a clean finisher, it drops after the first and second attack. Why? Because at that point, the person is immersed, is enmeshed, is infused within that particular confrontation, and they are better able to prepare themselves for the incoming blow. The first and second attack are the two most important attacks in any violent confrontation. Proven by a man who spent years, over a decade, in prison and studied Bruce Lee. Perhaps the greatest martial artist that ever lived. I feel good about this particular video. Why? I'll be honest with you. It kind of proves where this channel actually is and how so far ahead it is of other channels. See you next video.